welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to make a reducing S offset. We're going to go from 12 by 12 to 8 by 12. We're going to be 10 inches high. What I'm going to show you today is the owl method. Your offset plus your width equals your length. You don't want to be over on your length because your projections from when you bisect your lines will actually run off of the metal. So you don't want to be any longer. I should have showed you that in the last video when we made the last S offset, but I didn't even think to show it to you. So again, your offset here, which is 10, and your width, which is 8, 8 plus 10 equals 18. So we don't want to be any longer than 18 in the fitting. And I'll show you why when we get over there of how it runs out. I'll do a little bit in marker today to make it a little more clear. So with that, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our 18-inch piece of metal. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to scribe 1 inch on each side. Okay, so now that we've cut our piece of metal, our set is going to be 10. So we're going to draw 10. Our opening is going to be 12. Because we're going from 12 to 8, but we're going to go 12 and a half, and we're going to put our Pittsburgh allowances on first. So we're 12 and a half here, and we're going 8 on this side, so we're going to be 8 and a half because, again, we are adding in our Pittsburgh allowances. Now, you're not going to lose a quarter here, even though we already added it in, because this end is already going to come up a quarter, so you don't have to worry about that. A lot of people like to lay out on center lines. I don't do it that way. You're not going to lose it there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to find our center. So we know we're 8 and a half. So we're at 4 and a quarter here. So this is our center line. Now what you want to do is take that same 4 and a quarter and come up from the bottom and come down from the top 4 and a quarter. Those are our 2 projection points. So we're going to draw a line to the center line of the smallest side. So again, we have 12 by 12 on this side and 8 by 12 on this side. Now what we want to do is we want to bisect our lines. So we want to bisect the top and the bottom lines, but we'll do the top first. Sometimes it's easier if you just punch your points. I hate punching points because I don't want them on my metal. Okay, so now we're going to bisect the top line. So there's our bisect. Now we want to bisect it into quarters. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take that point, you're going to draw through it, you're going to bring that up to your 1 inch line. And that's going to be our top line. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. It's very important that you get this right. Again, we're going to call that the top because we're bisecting this line and getting our projection points so that we can draw this S out. Now we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. We're going to bisect the bottom line in half. And just like before, we're going to project that through the middle. And now our line is bisected. We're bisected here. You can go ahead and you can check yourself simply by taking the divider and swinging it over, and you're right on the point. So now we want to divide this into quarters. So we'll divide each half. And again, the hardest part about doing this is not getting lost in the marks. Just like before, you're now going to take this line and you're going to project it down to your 1-inch line. That now becomes our bottom point. Now we'll do this other half. And just like before, we are now going to project that line up to our 1-inch. And label that bottom. Once you do this a few times, you'll realize where the lines are. Okay? So now we want to go ahead and we want to draw out our offset. So we'll start with the bottom. Now, if you can see that, it perfectly connected right at both apexes. Now let's do the top. We'll start our T at our top line, and we'll swing our arc. If you can see that. Both lines connected perfectly. Now what we want to do is we want to cut our pattern out. Make my life a little easier here, I'll use some reds. Hope you all can see that. So now what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to flip it over. You somehow find a way to get this out of the same piece of metal. So we're going to take this, we're going to flip it over so we have two insides, and we're going to trace ourselves out. And just for instructional purposes, I will do this in marker, even though I hate working out in marker. And again, you want your pieces to be opposite because they're not square to each other, so you'll end up bending over the wrong sides. So always put your marks on the inside of your fittings. So 12 by 12 to 8 by 12. I always put my numbers, whatever number I'm looking at, on that side, so I know the first number is 8 and the depth is 12. Most shops are that way. There's always a lot of miscommunication between field people and shop people. But once you get on a really good wavelength with somebody, it really works well. Sometimes drawing things out on paper, not everybody understands what somebody's trying to say. I know, I'm cutting from two different sides, and that's supposed to. Okay, so now we want to notch our fitting. Always keep your hand above your scriber so you don't cut yourself. Okay, so now we have our two halves, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll our quarters out for our Pittsburgh lock, and then we're going to measure it with a tape measure so we can get the length of our wrappers, and we'll cut those next. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to run our cheeks through our bender, through our easy edger. Once you run it through once, I do have one on top of the Pittsburgh that does this for me, but I just don't like it. I have more control over this. Okay, there's one half. One. Now that we have our two halves, we want to find our measurement for our wrappers. I use the tape measure method. You could use a string, you could use a piece of metal, you could use whatever you want. So I start from the 1 inch. That right there is 13. And that was 6 7/8, which gives me 19 7/8 plus 2 gives me 21 7/8 or 21.875. Now we'll do the back side. That's 12. That's 5.5, which gives me 17.5, plus my inch and my inch gives me 19.5 or 19.500. So now we want to cut our wrappers and we want to put our Pittsburgh on. I'm going to use our piece of metal that we drew on. We are 12 inches wide. We have to add an inch and an inch for the Pittsburgh on each side, so we want to be 14. Keep your snips straight up and down. They'll cut straight for you because they'll cut 90 degrees along the side of the snip. But if you start crooked, you're going to be crooked. So we have our two 14-inch pieces of metal. Now we want to cut one at 21 7/8 and one at 19.5. Measure twice, cut once. Okay, our other one is going to be 19.5. Okay, so now we're going to cut off for our Pittsburgh. Pittsburghs are 1 inch, but you will see some in some shops, especially commercial shops, that can be 1 1/4 or 1 1/8. I've even seen one that was 1 3/8. So we want to do one inch on all sides. Pittsburgh. Some people do pits. I find it easier to make a squiggly line. Pittsburgh. So this is going to be 12. This is going to be 12. Going to our 8 and our 12 inside. So now we want to run these through the Pittsburgh. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our fitting together. Now, I just roll these over the side of the bench to get my bends in them. Sometimes I'll put them through the roller, sometimes I won't. So when you open these up, I use a set of Pexto end nippers, and when you do it, don't squeeze the end nipper closed, keep it open as you go. And as I say in all the videos, tack your fitting together first before you finish hammering it over, just in case you made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We'll get ourselves lined up here, and we'll get started. Doesn't matter what end you start with, whatever you're more comfortable with. there we have our 12 by 12 to 12 by 8 offset going up 10 inches. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.